team! Welcome to your day one masterclass. I have been waiting for this day for weeks and weeks and weeks. In fact, ever since I decided I was going to run this challenge and I saw the thousands and thousands and thousands of women who were joining the challenge and who were like totally into it, I have literally been so excited to teach this material because it's honestly my favorite material to teach. So welcome to the Over 50s 5-day fitness and mindset challenge. It's a wee bit of a mouthful. I'm so excited to have you here. My name is Kim Constable. For those of you who don't know me, we have had tens of thousands of women join this challenge. It is phenomenal. I just really could never have imagined how many women would have joined the challenge and how needed this information was. Well, actually, that's not true. I kind of did know how needed this information was. I don't know why I've resisted being very specific for the over 50s up until now, but doesn't really matter why I have, because the fact of the matter is now I'm here and I'm going to teach you every single thing that I know. So a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. I'm not going to be taking any questions in this particular masterclass simply because I just want to get through the material that I'm going to teach you. So I'm going to teach you something for about 30 minutes and hopefully it's going to be highly interesting and you're going to love it. And then I'm going to give you some homework that you can do at the end, a homework assignment. Every single day of the masterclass also has a PDF that comes with the masterclass. And if you want to go back and watch the recording, you can absolutely do that as well. We will send out recording links to your email directly after this session is over. I want to make sure, though, that everybody, before they move into the next day, has actually done the homework that we set you from day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. And the reason for this is because if you don't take action, you will actually never change. You can sit here and satiate in the information and you'll be like, oh my God, Kim's such an amazing teacher with such a small ego. I'm joking. So you can be like, this is amazing. Kim's a great teacher. Like I learned so much. It was phenomenal. But if you don't actually put it into action, you are never going to change. And at the end of 5 days, even if you never spent another penny on any fitness program with me or with anyone else, if you just put into practice the information that I'm teaching you over the next 5 days, you will completely transform both your mind and your body, because knowledge is power. That is one thing I have always said my entire life. It's one thing I've always believed. Knowledge is power. I am an information junkie. Whenever I get passionate about something and I want to learn about something, I go deep down the rabbit hole with it. And that is what I have done with this information, specifically designed to women over 50, 60, 70, women who are in menopause, perimenopause, all of those wonderful stages that come with all of these unexpected things like the middle-age spread and belly fat and back fat and sleep issues and hot flashes and hormone issues and skin issues and headaches and insomnia and brain fog and incontinence. Whoever warned you about incontinence? Isn't that wonderful? I can't even actually do a seated row in the gym anymore. There's a seated cable row that you do in the gym. And you have to, you sit down and you put your hands out and then you row it back, right? I have been doing this exercise for years and years and years. And now, whenever we do back day in the gym, I have to wear a Super Plus sanitary towel. A Super Plus sanitary towel because I pee myself every single bloody time I'm doing that exercise. Now, I am lifting pretty heavy weights, but I literally pee myself. And this never happened before. And I'm like, what? Anyway. I'm here to tell you that I unfortunately probably can't stop you peeing yourself. That happens to you as well. But I can stop a whole host of other things, particularly things like the middle-age spread, night sweats, hot flashes, brain fog, all these kinds of things. All of our members have reported have drastically reduced whenever they follow the information I'm going to teach you here. So hopefully this is exciting for you. So after this masterclass is finished, we are going to email you a PDF. So you must go and find it in your email. And if you can't find it in your email, do a little search in your inbox for Kim Constable, the Sculpted Vegan. If you use Hotmail or Gmail or Outlook hides our emails in the other folder. The folder is called Other. Hotmail, I think, puts them in spam. Gmail puts them in promotions. Yahoo, they just delete them. They literally just delete them. Yahoo is the worst email address ever for us to try to get email through to. But you really have to persevere and go and find it in your inbox. And then once you find it in your inbox, if it's in your spam or junk folder, do me a favor. Click the little button at the top. There'll be a little drop-down menu which says move to inbox. Click that and move the email to your inbox, because then that means that the future emails should actually arrive in your inbox. You're saying to your inbox, I want to receive this email from the Sculpted Vegan. She's helping me get rid of my love handles, my middle-aged spread, and have a healthy healthier, happier life in my more mature years. So it's important that these emails get through, right? That's what you have to tell your inbox. And that's what you do by moving the email from your junk folder to your inbox. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Well, today's masterclass is entitled, Your Body Has Changed, But You Have Not. And that's the problem. And I love to tell this story just as a little beginner. Loads of you will have heard it before. And some of you actually who've been with us for a long time will have heard some of the stuff I'm going to teach this week, but then there's other stuff that you will not have heard of. So that's exciting. So I was at my sister's house, and I always teach using stories, by the way. So I was at my sister's house, I would say about 2 years ago now, 18 months ago, maybe. Now, my oldest sister, Carol, is 47. And she hasn't had a menstrual cycle. She hasn't had a period in, I would say, about 18 months now. So in my family, all the women go through menopause very young. So I've had a lot of women on my Facebook ads say, this woman isn't over 50. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not over 50. I'm 44. But that doesn't mean that I don't understand menopause, because I do, because I am in full-blown perimenopause. My oldest sister, who's 47, is in full menopause. My middle sister, who is 45, I think, 46, hasn't had a period in about 6 months. My mum was in full menopause by the time she was 47, and I will be exactly the same. So I may not be over 50, but I have coached hundreds of thousands of women the world over to achieve their health and fitness goals. And just like a gynecologist does not need to have a vagina to be able to help women with their reproductive issues, neither do I need to be over 50 to help more mature women with their fat loss issues, because I am a bona fide fat loss expert. We have sold over 500,000 programs and given away more than $500,000 in prize money since I founded this company in 2017. So that's why I am qualified, I believe, to teach you what I'm going to teach you this week. However, don't believe me, just show up, listen, and you can decide for yourself if I know what I'm talking about. So let me go back to my story. I was at my sister's one day and she said to me, I just keep putting on weight and I don't know why. And I was like, oh, really? And she said, yeah. She goes, I haven't changed anything. I haven't changed my diet. I haven't changed my exercise. I still go for a big walk every single morning. I do yoga 3-4 times a week. I eat exactly the same breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks that I have eaten my entire life. And I just keep getting fatter. All my clothes are tight on me and it's all around my stomach. And I said to her, oh, interesting. Now, this is before I was a menopause expert. And I said, interesting that you haven't changed a single thing. I said, do you think it could be menopause? And she said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, how regular is your period? And she said, well, it's kind of becoming more irregular, but it's still there. But yeah, I guess I haven't had a period, in about 3 or 4 months, and it kind of comes and goes. I never know when I'm having it or when I'm not. And I said, I wonder, could it be something to do with that? And so then I thought to myself, well, it must be something to do with that, because she hasn't changed anything, but something in her body has changed. And I hear this all the time from women. They say to me, I haven't changed a single thing. And maybe this is what you're thinking right now. Maybe you're here because you're like, I am completely perplexed because I have not changed a single thing. And yet I'm getting fatter. Every day I have a bigger waist. My clothes are getting tighter. I just can't figure out what it is. So I went away, being the kind of person that I am, and I began to dive deep into menopause because I wanted to help my sister with this problem. And I found out something really, really, really interesting that when I shared it with her, completely and utterly blew her mind. But the crazy thing that I found, what was even crazier to me, was that the information that I've been teaching for the last 6 years in the Sculpted Vegan programs is exactly the information that menopausal women need to know, that women over 50, 60, and 70 need to know. Exactly what I've been teaching is exactly how these women should be eating and training. And I could not believe it. It was like I had literally stumbled on some kind of holy grail. I was already a bona fide menopause expert without even knowing it, just because of how I teach as a vegan bodybuilder. Now, not all bodybuilders will know this information. Because I'm a vegan bodybuilder, I understand food differently than many bodybuilders, okay? I've had to really develop my very complex nutritional knowledge over the years, which I have done, and which all of the results of the programs that we, have sold and the results that we've gotten are testament to that. And so I began to use this knowledge to educate not only my sister, but to educate hundreds of thousands of women all over the world. And their results have been quite spectacular. And that is what I am going to teach you today. So here we go. I'm just going to consult my notes here for a wee minute. So, what I've written here is menopause and weight gain, and all of the symptoms, all of the unwanted symptoms that you're experiencing seem to be much more prevalent in today's society. Now, this could be that there is more awareness than before, or it could be something to do with our diet. It is something to do with our diet, by the way. In countries where they eat mostly whole food, plant based diets, menopause symptoms are practically non existent. Isn't that interesting? So, I have done a huge amount of research into this over the years. And in the countries where literally they eat a whole food, plant based diet, menopausal symptoms are practically non existent. Either they're non existent or they're just not reported, or they're so mild that they're not big enough to be reported. Whereas we seem to be living in a menopause, mature years pandemic. Like literally, women are suffering more than they have ever suffered before. And so I began to think, well, why would this be the case? Like, what is it about these, whole food, plant based, areas of the world where they have really good longevity in terms of lifespan, but they also don't have any menopausal symptoms. And so whenever I dug a little deeper, the research was actually very, very interesting. So what I found was in these countries, women tend to eat food that is packed with fiber. They don't eat a lot of processed food simply because it's not available. So the foods that they're eating are whole foods that they have to peel and chop and cook themselves, which are packed with fiber and packed with nutrients, which means that the blood sugar is staying much more steady all the time. And so therefore they're not putting on a huge amount of body fat. And also their estrogen levels are staying very level, I guess, is what you would call it. Now, I'm going to go into estrogen a bit more in this masterclass and tell you how it all works. But it was really interesting to me that and I'm not going to tell you that you're all going to have to eat whole foods and greens and go vegan, because I know that like loads of you here are like, I am not going vegan. And that is okay. You really don't have to. Okay. It's not about eating meat or not eating meat. This isn't a animal protein versus vegan protein debate. Okay. This is actually more to do with carbohydrates. So what I found whenever I researched it was in these areas, the carbohydrates, not the protein, but the carbohydrates that these people were eating were very, very fiber rich. And this was really significant because eating really fiber-rich carbohydrates seem to keep a lot of the unwanted, mature, menopausal, if you like, symptoms at bay. And I know this is not a menopause masterclass, but many of us, that kind of stage of life between the ages of 45 and 75, or the rest of your life, really is called menopause. So I began to really think about, well, why would this be, and how would this affect us? Why would we be so affected so greatly in the Western world, or in more first world countries? It's not even that it's not in third world countries. It's just in little pockets of areas around the world where they live a much more simple life than we do, I guess. And it really all came down to the food that we eat. So how the food that we eat really has a direct and massive correlation between the unwanted weight gain and the menopausal symptoms that we experience, or that many women are experiencing in our society. So here's what I found. You ready? Whenever you get older, your estrogen levels decline. We all know this, but this shouldn't necessarily be a problem with weight gain if you know how to eat to prevent it. The problem isn't declining estrogen. The problem is the modern day food that you and I are eating. But before we dive into food and really talk about that, which I know is why many of you are here, you're like, I just need to know what to eat. I'm going to cover all that, I promise. But before we dive into that, let's just look at what is happening first, right, inside the body with your estrogen levels. So the body has 3 types of estrogen, right? It has, every time I go to say this, I'm like, estradiol, estrone, and estriol. Okay, 3 different types of estrogen, and they're all made up. They're all called estrogen, but they're just different types of estrogen. But there's only 2 that we really need to be concerned about, and that is the first one, which is estradiol, and the second one, which is estrone. Okay, because estriol is only really found in pregnant women. It always makes me think of my COO in the company, Christina. She's pregnant at the minute. Well, she was highly pregnant actually until she had her baby recently. But I always think about her whenever I think about estriol. So let's talk about them, okay? Let's break them down and see what they are. So the ovaries, adrenal glands, and fat tissues all produce estrogen. Many people don't know this. Many people think that estrogen is just produced in the ovaries. In fact, many women don't even know if you ask them where in the body produces estrogen. They really don't know. They would guess. They'd be like, the womb, the reproductive system. It's your ovaries, okay? Your ovaries produce estrogen in the body, and they actually produce estradiol, okay? That is the strongest form of estrogen. It's the estrogen that is the one that declines as we age, and it's the one that decreases significantly during menopause. Now, the effects of estradiol are clearly seen in women experiencing menopause, or the effects of the decline of estradiol are clearly seen in women experiencing menopause. During this process, and I'm reading from my notes here because it's easier. During this process, women naturally have lower levels of estradiol as the ovaries no longer produce it, causing menstrual cycles to stop. This change often causes mood swings, vaginal dryness, hot flashes, night sweats, and all the rest of it. All of the symptoms commonly associated with menopause. Over time, lower estradiol levels can also lead to osteoporosis. Okay, so that's the main form of estrogen that your ovaries produce, and that is the main form of estrogen that drops as we move into our more mature years. Now, interestingly to me, estrone, okay, estrone is an estrogen like estradiol. However, unlike estradiol, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I've never even looked it up, but hopefully I am. Unlike the other two, estrone comes from fat tissue and from the adrenal glands, as well as from the ovaries. So your ovaries produce estrone and estradiol, but only fat tissues and adrenal glands produce estrone. And this is all going to become very clear in a little minute. It's very significant. It is a weaker type of estrogen, and it is commonly found in higher quantities in postmenopausal women. Why? Because estrone can be converted into estradiol. But the main source of estrone in a menopausal woman or a woman over 50 is produced inside fat cells. Okay? So let's dig into this a little bit more. Your primary source of estrogen comes from your ovaries. It's estradiol. Your secondary source, estrone, comes from fat stores. Your third source of estrogen can come from the adrenal glands, and this is also estrone. So your body can produce estrogen, estrone, in the adrenal glands and in the fat tissues, okay? And the ovaries can produce both types of estrogen. But whenever your ovaries stop producing eggs, and you stop having a menstrual cycle, your estradiol levels drop. Why is this significant? Well, here's the clinker. And this is what I told my sister whenever I found this out. Whenever you are older, whenever you start to move into menopause and your estradiol levels drop, your body wants to keep hold of estrogen, right? Your body it's not ready to give up on estrogen yet. It wants to keep estrogen levels high. Why does it want to keep estrogen levels high? Because your body is wired for survival. Your body wants to keep you alive and it wants to keep you healthy. It does not understand all of the different factors of your life. It does not understand that you have clothes that you want to fit into and you have bathing suits that you enjoy wearing when you're on vacation. It doesn't understand that you want to look sexy to your husband. Or your wife. It doesn't understand all of these different things, that all of these societal things that we have created, right? All of these rules of society that we now live within that says you should look a certain way or act a certain way or be sexy or be strong or wear a bathing suit or all these different things. Your body is a very primitive organism. Your body thinks that you are still living in the jungle, okay? And it does not know that fat is bad and that fat around your middle is bad. It doesn't know any of this. Your body goes, estrogen levels are declining because the ovaries are not producing eggs anymore and the menstrual cycle is declining. Body still needs estrogen. Where else can we produce estrogen? Fat store. Great secondary source of estrogen. We can get the fat stores to produce estrone. We can convert that to estradiol and we can keep the female body functioning efficiently. So your body goes, wouldn't it be a really good idea if we make more fat? Because if we have more fat, then we can store up lots more estrogen. And then if we ever need extra estrogen, we have a good store of it in the fat cells. So you maybe heard of this in a different context for people who've been on starvation diets in the past. So what happens whenever you enter a period of starvation? And again, this is all to do with your primitive programming. Years ago, humans did not have constant access to food that we have now. Humans were berry pickers, right? And they had to kill their food and cook it and eat it and berry pick it, right? So humans would have gone through periods of feast and famine. So they would have gone through periods where food was plentiful, maybe in the summer when there was, in Australia it was different, but certainly over here in Great Britain, there wasn't a lot of food growing in the winters. There was like turnips and onions and potatoes and that kind of stuff, but there wasn't really a lot of, berries or nutritious foods and things. So there was a lot of periods of feast and famine. So your body during the period of feast would have stored lots of body fat in order to get you through a period of famine. And whenever you were in a period of famine where food was not as plentiful, your body would have stored more body fat. So it would have diverted more energy to fat store on purpose so that it would have had a good source of energy if it ever needed it. Because fat stored can also be broken down into energy. So your body tries to store more fat if you're in a period of starvation so that it has energy to get it through the hard times. That's why yo-yo dieters find it very hard to maintain a consistent weight. And they always complain that after they stop dieting, all of the weight comes back on and more. And that's because people who yo-yo diet and who drop their calories drastically actually unknowingly trigger their body's starvation mode. And who here has done this? Let me know in the comments if you've done. I'm not going to read the comments, but I really love seeing all your stuff coming through. If you're like me, who here has gone, right, that is it. I need to lose some body fat. So I'm only going to eat one meal a day from now on. That's all I'm going to eat. And you do that for a week and you're miserable and you're starving and you drop a lot of body fat. And then what do? You go I can't cope. And then you go back to like eating food normally, or you binge or whatever. Or maybe you drop to like 1,000 calories or like 800 calories for like 4 weeks or 6 weeks and you lose loads of body fat, or you go on one of those like slim fast diets where it's like one shake for lunch, one for dinner, and one for breakfast, one for lunch, and a nutritious dinner. You're literally eating like 500 calories a day. So do you drop a dress size in a week? Yeah. Do you drop 4 dress sizes in 4 weeks? Yeah. Do you keep the weight off? No. Why? Because as soon as you go back into eating normally again, which is just a normal diet, your body goes, we're in a period of starvation. Now there's food coming in. Quick, store. So your metabolism is downregulated. Your body wants to store that body fat really quickly. Okay. And it shoves it into all of the fat cells to gear up and get ready for the period of starvation that it believes is coming again. And if you train your body that there's a period of excess and a period of starvation, period of excess, period of starvation, you literally will trigger your fat burning stores in your body. You will be permanently in fat storage mode because your body knows, you've trained it that there's feast and famine, feast and famine, feast and famine. So your body knows this is what's going to come and it wants to store excess fat to get you through the famine. That's why yo-yo dieting is so detrimental to you ever achieving your health and fitness goals. But it's also why it also works the same for whenever you're in your mature years, over 50 or in menopause, because your body wants to store more fat to produce more estrogen. The body is a wonderful mechanism, and it's also really bloody annoying, isn't it? Okay, so here's what happens. Whenever your ovaries stop making as much estradiol, your body goes, oh, okay, there's not as much estrogen coming in. We're not ready to give up on estrogen yet. So let's stockpile some fat stores so we have excess estrogen if we ever need it. Okay. So your body goes, okay, how can we do this? Let's think. This is what I imagine the body does. I have like a wee scenario in my head. The body goes, what is the easiest and quickest way to do this? I know. Let's create insulin resistance in the muscles and in the liver so that the body cannot take up the glucose in the blood, and then the glucose has to be diverted to fat store instead. Doesn't that sound like a really good idea, everybody? And then they probably had a meeting about it and they voted and they passed the memo, and that's now what's going to happen. So let me tell you how this works, okay? Let me tell you how digestion works. Hopefully I'm not like confusing you all and diving into but this is a very complex subject. So I'm trying to break it down and make it as easy as possible. So here's what happens when you eat. You sit down to a delicious lunch, okay? You're chopping up your food, you're eating it. You put that first bite of the food in your mouth, and you start to chew. The minute you start to chew, your body goes, woo, there's food coming, okay? So it sends signals all the way down to your pancreas. Your pancreas start going, and they start secreting insulin. Okay. Insulin is a storage hormone. It is designed to lower the sugar in your blood. So, how does the sugar even get into your blood? Well, you start eating, the food then is, you chew it up in your mouth, first pass, then it goes down into your stomach, and your stomach like mulches it around with loads of stomach acid, second pass. Okay. Then it passes it into the small intestine. In the small intestine, that is the only place where you can absorb calories into your bloodstream. Anything that passes into the large intestine literally becomes poop. That's it. The only place your body can absorb calories is in the small intestine. Just as a little side note, that is why artificial sweeteners don't contain any calories, because your body cannot break down artificial sweeteners in the small intestine. They have to be passed through to the large colon. That's the only place your body can break them down. And no nutrients that are broken down in the large colon are absorbed into the bloodstream as calories. Loads of people don't know this. But what does happen in the large intestine, the only way that your body can break it down is fermentation. And you know what fermentation causes? Gas. Indeed, anything that is broken down in the large intestine, including fiber and artificial sweeteners and sugar alcohols, basically anything that ends in all, like sorbitol, xylitol, all of these artificial sweeteners, they are all broken down in the large intestine, and they cause gas. That's why artificial sweeteners, people who are overweight and who try to eat a lot of low sugar foods or sugar-free foods, inadvertently ingest a lot of artificial sweeteners, which causes a lot of gas and bloating. So a lot of people who are overweight complain that they're constantly bloated, and that's because they're ingesting a lot of artificial sweeteners. It's nuts whenever you dive into this stuff and you realize what really happens inside the body. So let's go back to the small intestine. So you eat food, goes down into the stomach, mulch in the stomach, goes into the small intestine. Then it's absorbed through the intestinal wall of the small intestine into the bloodstream. Your body then converts the calories into glucose, okay? Little bowls of glucose. And that glucose gets thrown into your bloodstream, and it starts whizzing around your whole body. Because your pancreas have secreted insulin, insulin is also sent in a jet into your bloodstream. And what insulin's job is it's to go around your bloodstream and pick up the glucose, okay, and then deliver it into the cells. So if you can imagine that your muscles have lots of just one key. Imagine your muscles have a door, okay? Your muscles have a door with a key. And so if you turn the lock on the door, it goes and it opens, okay? So as soon as your pancreas starts secreting insulin, that actually triggers a GLUT4 response, right? So GLUT4 are the receptors on the surface of the muscle cells and the fat cells, okay? So the key turns, and the GLUT4s open the receptor cells, right? So now they're open and ready to receive glucose. So in a normal or under 50-year-old woman who isn't menopausal, what happens is the glucose goes flying around the bloodstream. Insulin goes around and chases all the glucose, picks it all up, and basically deposits it, right? Like you would tidy up your kids' toys when they were younger, or maybe your grandkids' toys. You go around and you literally pick them up and you fire them into the different boxes, right? That's what your body is doing. That's what insulin is doing with the glucose. So it's storing it all in the cells, okay? So if the muscles have been used, if you've been strength training in the gym, then they will get more glucose, right? Which they will convert into glycogen, basically energy. And if you've been running, or if you've been doing a lot of work, or you've been moving around a lot, your liver is going to need glycogen to fuel your brain, and your muscles are going to need glucose to convert into glycogen to fuel your muscles. Okay, so your body insulin will go around storing all the glucose, and then whatever's left over, it will just put it directly into fat store. Okay, so it'll go, okay, like it needs to lower the blood sugar. Your blood sugar cannot rise. The pH of your blood has to remain steady. It cannot have a lot of sugar floating around it. So that's why fat stores exist, right? They're basically excess energy stores. So your body will convert anything left over into fat store. So over the years, whenever you were, 20, 30, 40, you probably had, you know exactly what you need to eat to maintain your weight, right? Whenever you were younger, you kind of learned, eat a bit too much, put on a bit of body fat, right? Exercise a bit more, eat a bit less, great, body fat comes off. So you develop a very good relationship and understanding with your body over the years, where you understand what you need to do. You need to lose a bit of weight, eat a little bit less, and you exercise a little bit more, and the weight comes off. Then you hit 50. Or 55 or 52 or 60 or 65 or 70. And suddenly this doesn't work quite so well anymore. Like you notice that you're like, oh, that's interesting. One day you wake up and you put on your pants and you're like, oh, those are tight. And you're like, have I been eating any more than normal? And you go, well, I don't think so. I haven't been doing anything. And so you're a bit perplexed because you can't understand why your clothes are tight. Or you look in the mirror and you're like, holy shit, like why do I look like that? And so you can't understand what it is. And you go, well, I must have been inadvertently eating more calories and I didn't realize. So, I just need to cut out a few calories and I know the weight will come off. So you cut out a few calories and you cut out some of the, you cut out your scone with your morning tea and you cut out, the extra spoonful of potatoes with dinner and you start saying no to, pizza on a Friday or whatever. And normally you just do these small changes and after a couple of weeks you'll notice, great, pants are fitting. Or maybe you go a bit more drastic. Maybe you go, right, I'm going on a diet and you go on a proper diet, this diet that's always worked for you, which is, consists of, intermittent fasting until lunchtime and then a healthy lunch and then some kind of dinner or whatever. And you're not in a period of starvation or anything. It's tough enough, but like it's not crazy hard. And so you do that. And then normally after, say 2 to 3, 4 weeks, the weight comes off. So you do this. And then 2 to 3 to 4 weeks later, you're like, it's not working. Like it's normally I do this and the weight comes off, or maybe a wee tiny bit has come off. And you're like totally confused. What is happening? Why? Why is this not working? And for the first time in your life, well, first time in a long time, you feel completely resourceless. Who here feels completely resourceless? Like you're like, I don't understand what I did, what I've done my whole life up until this point isn't working anymore. And it's completely and utterly perplexing because you haven't changed that you know of. You haven't changed anything you're doing. Every single variable you normally manipulate and control is the same, but yet the body isn't responding the same way. And that's because you don't know what is happening inside your body. But after today, you're going to know, and you're going to know what you need to do to change it. So here's what's happening inside your body. Your cells start to create insulin resistance because they want to divert more energy, more glucose to fat stores so that they can create more cells that are capable of producing estrogen. So whenever your ovaries stop producing estrogen, whenever your menstrual cycle starts to decline, whenever you get later on in life, this is a natural process. You cannot stop it. Your body will recognize that estrogen levels are dropping and it will want to create estrogen stores. So basically what happens is you eat and it goes into your stomach, it's absorbed into your bloodstream, the glucose goes around your blood, your pancreas secrete insulin, insulin goes around your blood and it picks up the glucose and it's going to the cells, right? But instead of the GLUT4 receptors turning on the muscle cells to open the door to allow the insulin to deposit the glucose, the door stays closed. Or maybe in 20% or maybe only in 50% of your muscles, the door opens, but in the other 50%, the door stays closed. So normally, if all of the doors open in all of your muscles that need glucose, then so much of that energy will be stored. And there'll only be a tiny bit, if anything, left over for fat store. This is what has happened up your whole life up until now. But now, only 50% of the energy that you're eating is getting utilized by the muscles. And your body is deliberately diverting the other 50%. I don't know what the exact percentages are. I'm just guessing. But your body is actively diverting the other 50% into fat store. And this is happening inside your body without your knowledge. It's like someone having a party in your house without permission, right? And do you know what? Even worse, you're not invited. So coming home to find that somebody is having a party in your house without your permission and you're not even invited. Like you would be mightily pissed off. And so you should be. That's exactly what's happening inside your body. Is this like blowing your mind, guys? I know many of you have heard me teach this before, but whenever I teach this to people, people are like, oh my God, this is absolutely blowing my mind. Now, the next question that normally comes up, and I'm going to tell you in a minute what you can do. The next question that normally comes up after this is, but surely my body needs, my body wouldn't be doing this, right? If it didn't need the extra fat stores, the extra estrogen, the answer is no. Your body does not need those extra fat stores for estrogen. Your body has enough fat to produce enough estrogen to keep your body healthy and strong, right? Right up until you die. But it naturally just wants to create more fat stores just in case. Just the same way that it does whenever it stockpiles fat for just in case. Okay. So whenever you go on starvation diets or whenever you're in a period of starvation, your body will divert more energy to fat store just in case you're going through another period of starvation. Remember, fat store is a store. It's not something that is needed immediately. It's a store for something that might be needed in the future. It's kind of like, can you imagine, a great analogy that I love to use is, have you ever saved money? Hopefully lots of you have saved money. Hopefully you do have a lot of savings for your old age. But what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take 10% of your wages every week or every month whenever you get paid, 10% of your wages, and put it into a savings account. And so if you put 10% of your wages into a savings account, let's say you get paid $1,000 a month, right? Very low, but let's just say you're supposed to take $100 a month and put that $100 into a savings account. And then over time, that savings account will build up and build up and build up and build up. That's exactly what your body is doing with fat store. Now, do you need that savings account? Well, at some point you might need it in the future, but you don't save the money so you can use it straight away. That's what your checking account is for. Your savings account is for money that you might need in the future. And that's exactly what your body is doing with fat stores. It's storing it in case of a perceived energy shortage or in case it might need more estrogen. Your body doesn't need the estrogen right now. You're perfectly healthy. And in fact, the other thing many people don't know is the reason why your body stores the fat around your middle, and a reason why it stores it around your stomach and your back particularly, is the cells around your stomach are very estrogenic. That means that they can not only store more estrogen, they can produce more estrogen. So you have fat cells all over your body. You have fat cells in your cheeks, in the palms of your hands, in the soles of your feet, in your knees, in your calves. You have fat cells everywhere. But those fat cells aren't estrogenic. The fat cells that we hold around our middle are very estrogenic. This is good for the body because it can break them down to make estrogen whenever it needs it, but it's also very bad because if you allow yourself to get too overweight, and the weight, especially in women, tends to go around our stomach whenever we're in menopause or over the age of 50. If you allow yourself to get too overweight, you will knock off the balance of estrogen and progesterone in your body because your ovaries also produce progesterone. And progesterone declines over the years as your menstrual cycle declines. But there's nowhere else in your body that actually your adrenal glands can make progesterone, but only very, very small amounts. So if you allow your body to produce too much estrogen, because if you have a lot of fat around your stomach, those fat cells are going to be pumping estrogen into your blood. So a lot of women say to me, well, my doctors told me that I'm very like estrogen dominant and like my problems are coming from, I'm being too estrogen dominant, but how can I have too much estrogen when I'm in menopause? Have you ever thought this? Have you ever heard this? And you're like, how can I have too much estrogen? It's not that you have too much estrogen, it's you have too much estrogen in comparison to progesterone, because progesterone can only be made by the adrenal glands, and your body will still continue to make more, especially if you have healthy adrenal glands. But if you don't, you can get out of balance. So that's why it's super important you don't allow yourself to get overweight. And if you are overweight, you must do something about it because it's extremely unhealthy. And just like having too little estrogen can cause problems, it's not even too little estrogen. It's actually declining estrogen causes problems in the body. Too much estrogen, right? Or too much out of balance estrogen can also cause a whole host of problems. So for your own health and longevity and strength and for your own well-being, you must get your weight under control. You must get your weight to a healthy weight because you do not want to continue. You do not want to have loads and loads and loads of estrogenic cells, fat cells around your middle because it is super, super, super bad for you. Okay, what else have I said here? Yes, I've said after menopause, you can develop an estrogen imbalance if you are overweight, which can cause all kinds of problems such as hot flashes and night sweats, vaginal dryness and sexual discomfort, depression, changes in sex drive, insomnia, dry skin, weight changes, hair loss, and incontinence. Okay. All of these things can be caused by having an estrogen imbalance. So that is why your body is storing body fat. Your body is trying to do it on purpose. It's causing insulin resistance within your cells. And one thing I forgot to mention is whenever you eat and your pancreas secrete insulin and the insulin goes around your blood, first of all, whenever the cells are refusing the estrogen, your body is so smart and also so stupid because your pancreas go, oh, okay, so there's still loads of sugar in the blood. The problem must be not enough insulin. So let's give it some more. So your body, your pancreas start pumping out more insulin, okay? So more insulin is released into your blood. It picks up the glucose and is trying to store it frantically, right? But it can't store it. So what does it do with it all? Because now we have loads of estrogen picking up loads of glucose and nowhere to put it. So what does it do with it? Straight into fat store. Yep. Does not pass go, does not collect $200, straight into fat store. And then over time, if you're constantly giving your body the wrong type of food, which is what we're going to talk about tomorrow, your body will be, well, you will suffer from, you can literally go into pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes because your body overproduces insulin and your pancreas become very, very, very tired. And then it can come that you actually have diabetes, and your body's just, your body just doesn't get enough insulin, which can also be a real problem because then obviously your blood sugars rises and it's really not good for you. So what can you do? Now you're like, oh, well, Kim, you've blown my mind. Hopefully I've blown your mind. I can see your comments. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're loving this. Okay. So hopefully I have blown your mind with this information. And now you're like, okay, well, Kim, this is all very interesting. What the hell do I do about it? Well, that is all coming tomorrow, because this wouldn't be a challenge if I gave you everything away in the first day, right? It wouldn't be a 5-day challenge if you gave it all in the first day. So tomorrow I'm going to tell you exactly what you can do to stop your body storing body fat, because it doesn't have to be this way. Even though your cells are creating insulin resistance, it doesn't matter. There's a very simple, easy thing that you can do to stop your body dead in its tracks from storing too much body fat. And see, once you learn it, your mind is going to be blown and you're going to be like, where has this woman been all my life? Why have I only found her now? Okay, so I do have some homework for you today. Let me find your homework. Okay, so here is your homework. Are you ready? This isn't really anything to do with what I've just taught, but I do want you to have a homework piece every day. So because I want you to transform, it's very, very important to me that you transform. It's very important to me that you transform over these 5 days. It's very important that you walk away with a proper plan, okay? And some reality data about where you are. So here's what you're going to do tonight or this afternoon, preferably this afternoon. You are going, so I've written here, the first step to change is getting real about what needs to change, because I'm going to teach you something tomorrow, right? And you're going to go, oh, this is so wonderful and so easy. And then you're going to try and put it into practice and you're going to be like, oh, not so easy after all, because it's not as comfortable or as nice as it used to be. So you're going to have a reason to give yourself a kick up the backside. And this homework exercise today is going to be that kick up the backside that you need to put into effect the changes that I'm going to teach you tomorrow. Does that make sense? It does to me. Hopefully it does to you. Homework. The first step to change is to get real about what needs to change. This is in your PDF, by the way. You don't need to write it down. We're going to email the PDF today, which has a summary of everything I've talked about. So today you're going to do something that you may have been resisting, or maybe you didn't even know you had to do it. You're going to strip off your clothes and get real about the situation. Number 1, put on some skimpy underwear or a 2-piece swimsuit. Number 2, set your phone camera on a tripod or on a window ledge with the camera. Set the timer on the camera and step back from the lens. Number 4, take 4 sets of photos. Front with your arms by your side with your arms out in front, from the back with your arms by your side, and then from the other side with your arms out in front. Then you're going to save the photos to an album on your phone. And I've written here, don't try to exaggerate how bad it is, and don't try to make it look any better. You're not trying to suck in your stomach and draw yourself up. You're not trying to make yourself look any better. These are only for you. No one else is going to see these, okay? But you want to be real about the situation. If you try and suck in your stomach and pull it up and change it all around, you're really just lying to yourself, okay? So don't do that. Just accept that this is the first day of your new over 50s body. So it's important to get the data without any judgment or shame. Your beautiful body has carried you this far in life. And even if you don't think it's beautiful, it is. And it's wonderful and it's marvelous. And it's got you to this point in your life. And now it's time to take the reins and carry it even further with your new fitness plan. That's what I've written here. So that's your homework for today. And you're kind of like, this does not make sense from what she's just taught me. I'm not understanding, but I'm going to trust that this crazy Irish woman knows what she's talking about. And I'm just going to do it because I joined this challenge and I've nothing to lose. So that's what you're going to do today. So what I want you to do now is I want you to go to your email. I want you to check your email. I want you to find that email wherever it is hiding. And if you can't find it, try and find it first so you don't overload our support. But if you really can't find it, write to support@thesculptedvegan.com and they will help you find it, or they can resend it. But find that email, download the PDF, do the homework, take the photos, and then I want you to go into the Facebook group and I want you to tell me what you thought when you took the photos. I want you to just give me verbal diarrhea. Just be like, oh my God, it was worse than I thought, or it was actually better than I thought. Oh my God, this was so painful. Like I've avoided doing this for a long time. I want you to feel totally free to just completely express yourself fully in that Facebook group, because we have like thousands, tens of thousands of women all over the world who've been in your shoes right now, who are feeling exactly what you are feeling. And we have a full team of coaches, and I'm going to be in the Facebook group as well. So share your most vulnerable selves inside the Facebook group, because this is the first day of your new transformation. And the more real you can get about the situation, the more epic your transformation is going to be. So hopefully you enjoyed today. I'm going to be back in a few hours, and I'm going to be back in 3 hours and 15 minutes with the Q&A in this exact place. So whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're inside the Facebook group, I'm going to be back here in 3 hours. I'm going to do a Q&A. You're going to get to ask me anything you want about what I taught today, or just anything you want about your body or your fitness or your progress or your injuries or anything at all. It's an open floor Q&A. Okay. So join me back here in 3 hours and 15 minutes for an open floor Q&A. I'm going to chat to you all in the chat. I can see you all chatting here. I'm going to chat to you all. I'm going to take questions directly from the chat, and we're going to have so much more fun. And then tomorrow we're going to dive into exactly what you can do to stop your body storing body fat over the age of 50, which is why you're all here, I guess, because you want to stop it and you want to transform it. And I'm going to help you do exactly that. Okay. So I'll see you back here in a few hours. Thank you so much for being here. Mwah. Sending you a huge big kiss, and thank you for joining the challenge. And hopefully you have enjoyed this and got a lot out of it already. And I'll meet you back here in 3 hours. Okay. Bye, my love.